If I'm looking for an actor to play me in the great movie story about my rise to fame here on YouTube, I would definitely want Dave Bautista to play me. Mom! I'm trying to make it on YouTube! God! Glass Onion, a Knives Out story, released in 2022 for a brief time in theaters and then most recently on Netflix, and this film is directed by Rian Johnson, who has also directed such movies like Brick, Looper, Star Wars The Last Jedi, and the first film in this franchise, Knives Out. And this movie is starring Daniel Craig, Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, Kathryn Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr., Jessica Henwick, Madeline Klein, Kate Hudson, and Dave Bautista. A group of high-end aristocrats gets an invitation from the highest of all of them in their group to all get together on his private island during this time of COVID. However, unbeknownst to everyone, the world's greatest detective in Benoit Blanc is invited as well, because this little get-together is also supposed to be a fun murder mystery. But what the guests of this house fail to realize is that an actual murder will be taking place, which will allow Benoit Blanc to do what he does best: solve crime. So this is the second entry in this brand new franchise that we have gotten. I believe the first Knives Out came out in 2019, and it starts off with a murder mystery. An old guy is killed in this big mansion, and then all the family members are there, all trying to get the estate into their name. It's a whole bunch of whodunits and what were people doing at this time of night, and Foghorn Leghorn himself comes in and saves the day. And it feels like that's what we're going to be getting with each of these entries going forward. We're going to have Benoit Blanc be invited somewhere or called out somewhere to solve a murder, to solve a mystery, to solve a crime. And I love that. Since I watched Murder on the Orient Express earlier this year and then Death on the Nile, I've been getting into Agatha Christie a lot, and Hercule Poirot and all of his adventures I've actually been reading, which is weird for me. I never read. So I've been enthralled in these murder mystery stories. So to hear that this Knives Out, the first one, which I absolutely loved from 2019, is getting a sequel, and we're having more crime and more murders here that need solving, I'm all in. Like, I love Clue. I love that game. They even call out Clue in this movie about how bullshit it is, but you still use the same deduction of like who had motive and who have the opportunity to commit the murder. It's just, it made me so happy. I also love movies that make me feel smart. After I watched this movie, I felt so freaking intelligent, because the best thing about these murder mystery films is watching every single scene and trying to pick out little details, maybe something that was said, or maybe it's a clothing item or a piece of jewelry, or maybe there's just something slightly off color in the background that you go, hey, I'm kind of noticing that, but it might be nothing, but it's also in this scene, and Rian Johnson is a pretty intelligent director, so it probably means something. So as we get to the end of the movie and all of those things that I was picking out were actually part of the end plot, it made me feel very smart. It made me feel very intelligent, and I love movies that do that. So thank you very much, Glass Onion. Let me also give props to Rian Johnson for writing a brilliant movie, and also writing a movie that takes place in 2020 and observing what happened during that year, what started during that year. In case you didn't know, and I'm sure television and Hollywood is trying to make you forget, but 2020, we had a huge pandemic. This movie takes place in the heart of 2020 when all of us were locked down, and it doesn't ignore the fact that all of us are supposed to be wearing masks when we go out, and there's this huge virus that is going around and infecting everyone. In the beginning of this movie, there are many scenes that take place where the characters are talking to each other with masks on. I love that. Recently, there have been so many different films that supposedly take place in 2020, and no one ever talks about COVID, or talks about what was happening in the world at that time. If you watch Law & Order SVU, the 2020 season, as they were recording, the actors would come in, but because they're actors, they need to have FaceTime. They would come in wearing the mask, and then they would take it off, and then have the scene and deliver their dialogue, which pissed me the fuck off. Either wear the mask or don't wear the mask. Don't pull it off or pull it down like a chin strap just to make yourself feel better about wearing the mask, even though you're not really wearing the mask. So big kudos to Rian Johnson for embracing the time and doing it accurately, and showing these major characters and these major actors have scenes in masks. It makes me happy. I'm also a big fan of this new world's famous detective in Benoit Blanc. He's so intelligent, and he's so intriguing, and he's so nice and gentlemanly. When you invite him into your home, he's playing coy, and he's just asking a whole bunch of questions. He's trying to make you, who's probably the murderer, feel safe and feel comfortable in just talking and divulging things, because when you talk, you reveal things, whether you know it or not. And then from out of nowhere, Benoit Blanc comes out and goes like, huh, it was here, and you did it. Except in that foghorn leghorn voice he does. I swear. Daniel Craig is great in this role, and I want to see 10 more, 20 more entries in this universe and with this character. Whether that's film, whether it's a streaming service, TV show, I don't care. I want more. I want Rian Johnson to do nothing else with the rest of his career. Just make fantastic Knives Out sequels and spin-offs, whatever. And big kudos to the rest of the cast. There's not a single person in here that annoyed me or pissed me off. They all play their parts perfectly. Kate Hudson, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but she plays this dim-witted pop star, and she was great. Catherine Hahn, who I've said many times before is a national treasure. She is wonderful. Leslie Odom Jr., who also appeared in Murder on the Orient Express, so he's kind of typecasting himself in a lot of these murder mysteries, which I'm fine with because he's awesome. And Jessica Henwick, who is not a huge role in this movie. She plays the assistant to Kate Hudson's character, but I have not liked her in anything that she has done. I didn't like her in Game of Thrones. I didn't like her in Iron Fist. I hated her in Matrix Resurrection. She's always come across as phony to me. But here, her comedic timing is spot on. And it just, my jaw dropped when she came on screen. She was delivering these lines, and these funny ass lines. Like, okay, where was that actress for the last several years? Thank you. And Janelle Monáe, who at first in this film is pretty quiet and is very standoffish. You're not getting a lot from her, but then all of a sudden the covers come off and she is presented front and center, and she is magnificent. I love these movies that make me think, that keep my attention, trying to pick out everything that's happening on screen. As an audience member, if you're going into this movie, please know, in a detective story like this, if it's done well, every single thing that you see on screen plays into, or should play into, the story. And that's what happens here. This movie was amazing. As of now, I would say that this is better than the original Knives Out, even though Knives Out, I think, is a tremendous film. I think I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars on this channel. At this point, I would say that maybe this is slightly better. It's close, though. This franchise, if we have this quality going forward, this is going to be one of my favorite franchises of all time. I'm going to give Glass Onion a Knives Out tale 5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I think I see blue. He looks glorious.
This is a nice way to start off the year, with a nice 5 out of 5 fantastic movie. I wish I would have watched this last year. This definitely would have made my top 10 movies of 2022. If I can go back and amend that, I would. I mean, you can go back and watch it and then, you know, insert this movie somewhere in there, probably somewhere in the top 5, I'm not sure. So guys, have you seen Glass Onion? What did you think about it? Which one do you prefer more? Do you prefer the original Knives Out or this one? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you on the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.